You learned how to keep people guessing long before you learned how to feel safe. You didn't do it consciously. You didn't plan it. You adapted. Early in life, you noticed something subtle but powerful. That clarity invited expectations, and expectations invited disappointment. So you became unreadable. You learned to say just enough, to reveal just enough, to never fully step into the light where someone could define you or abandon you once they did. And here's the paradox. The very skill that once kept you emotionally protected is now the thing preventing deep connection. Uncertainty saved you, and now uncertainty is starving you. Because when you make people unsure of where they stand with you, you feel powerful. But power is not the same as peace. You sense it in your relationships, in the way people lean in, curious, intrigued, but never fully arrive. You sense it in your career, and how others hesitate to fully trust you, promote you, or commit to you. You sense it in yourself, the subtle loneliness that appears not because you're unseen, but because you're unreachable. Psychologically, this pattern often emerges from early relational unpredictability. When caregivers were emotionally inconsistent, warm one moment, withdrawn the next, the nervous system learned a critical lesson. Predictability is dangerous. The brain adapted by becoming alert, scanning constantly for shifts in tone, mood, and power. This state is known as hypervigilance, and it doesn't disappear in adulthood. It evolves. Instead of watching others for danger, you become the one others must watch. You control the emotional temperature of the room by never fully revealing your internal climate. Neurologically, this behavior is reinforced by the brain's default mode network, the system responsible for identity, self-story, and anticipation. The brain quietly learns a rule. If I remain undefined, I remain uncontained. Add to this an avoidant attachment style, where closeness feels like loss of autonomy and distance feels like control. You're not cold. You're not manipulative. You're regulated through ambiguity. Like fog on a battlefield, uncertainty keeps you safe by obscuring your position. But fog also prevents anyone from walking beside you. What remains unconscious does not disappear. It governs. And the unconscious bargain you made was simple. I will sacrifice being known in exchange for never being cornered. The grief here is subtle, invisible, often unacknowledged. You are admired, but not deeply held. You are respected, but not fully trusted. You are desired, but rarely chosen without hesitation. Uncertainty creates fascination, yes, but it also creates distance. Over time, a quiet resentment begins to form toward others for not staying, for not committing, for not understanding you, without realizing you never allowed them to. The core fear driving this behavior is not fear of rejection. It is fear of being fully seen and still abandoned. So you remain partially hidden, partially available, partially engaged, and life begins to feel complex. Not because it is, but because authenticity was traded for control. In adulthood, this pattern becomes unmistakable. You may keep emotional conversations vague or philosophical instead of personal. You may delay commitment while maintaining intrigue. You may reveal depth selectively, only when you feel in control. You may test others' loyalty instead of expressing your needs. You may feel uneasy when someone is emotionally direct with you. You may leave relationships not because they're wrong, but because they're clear. At work, you may keep plans ambiguous to avoid accountability. You may avoid stating goals explicitly. You may let others project competence or mystery onto you, instead of defining your role. Internally, you may experience a constant, low-grade anxiety. Difficulty resting, a sense that life is always about to begin, but never does. These are not personality traits, they are coping strategies. And the turning point is not fixing them, it is witnessing them without self-betrayal. Healing begins the moment you stop telling yourself, "This is just how I am." No, this is how you survived. Healing does not require radical transparency, it requires gradual truth. Practices like inner child reparenting teach the nervous system that clarity no longer equals danger. Shadow work invites you to reclaim the parts of yourself that learn to hide in order to stay loved. And perhaps most difficult of all, you learn to choose softness without surrendering boundaries. You let yourself be known, not to everyone, but to the right people. You stop making uncertainty your weapon and start making presence your power. The privilege of a lifetime is to become who you truly are, not who survives best, but who lives fully. You're not here to remain unreadable, you're here to be real. And when you stop using uncertainty as armor, you don't lose power. You gain intimacy, alignment, peace. You don't need to be fixed, you need to be whole.